Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode of People OS. Today, we are looking at skills first future and where we are headed. With Mr. Arjun Gupta today. Arjun, as you all might be knowing, that he has created Courseplay and he is the president of Learning Solutions at CIEL HR. So Arjun came back to India after his studies in Boston in 2011, and he saw a big gap in the industry, in workforce in general. He's passionate about learning. He's passionate about how to create a larger impact, and he saw that the Indian workforce lacks a very fundamental aspect, how to make them more and more employable in the future, how they can become more and more employable at larger organizations and enhance their capability. With this vision, he set out to create Courseplay, and he is part of CL today and creating a larger impact towards the powering the dreams of Indians. Thank you, Arjun, for joining us today. Our topic, as you know, today is about skills, and uh, we have been hearing about skills gap from quite some time in the industry, right? What are your thoughts on that? How do we bridge that, or is there really a skills gap that needs to be addressed?
Yeah. So thanks for having me, Saikat. Yeah. So I think the way we look at it at Courseplay is skill gap is basically the gap between what the employee should be knowing and should be able to do today, and what they actually know and what they actually should be able to do. I think recently, with the advancements in the kind of technology that LXPs, LMS platforms, HRMS platforms are having and are expected to have, the skill gap comes a lot more in focus because we can now measure it, right? We have a lot of data, we have a lot of science that helps us understand what exactly is the skill gap and then how that skill gap can be filled. Of course, AI plays its role in that analysis, but we're now getting so much information about the employees' performance, their feedback, their own feedback on their own performance, that we can use all this to analyze and then understand, okay, these are the skill gaps for that employee. So I think that's why it's become a buzzword today, just because of technological advancements that we
Right.
can now measure those skill gaps, and therefore it's come in the forefront.
Right. I would say you are at a unique vantage point to look at it. How much employable talent do we have, right? And is there a real gap that needs to be addressed here?
Yeah, I think that vantage point is, it's even it's even more sort of helpful for a company like Courseplay, because we're a part of CL HR group. So we have access to data across multiple different HR sort of verticals, including recruitment data and assessments, and of course with our own clients' learning. So we can use that in very interesting ways. Um, the when it comes to employability, of course, I think you can look at maybe long term and short term trends. Short term, I think in the last 3 years, the kind of impact that AI has made, suddenly I think everyone's dropping the priority of okay, let's look at problem solving, let's look at resilience, let's look at future leaders, and we're just looking at, okay, how do we make sure the workforce is sort of AI equipped and they know how to leverage these tools and maximize productivity through AI. So I think short term, just because of this big AI push, so everyone's sort of forgotten about everything else. So I think when it comes to employability, also in the short term, suddenly we're seeing a shift that AI is the baseline. You need to know how to write prompts. You need to know a little bit about how these technologies work. You need to know how to leverage these tools. And prompting is, with your GPTs and your LLMs, that's important. But you're seeing now AI leveraged in so many new ways, with analysis, with your reporting tools, and with new graphical interfaces with agents. So it's not just about writing prompts anymore. It's about wielding all the different flavors of AI as a tool to get you sort of ahead in the workplace. And then, with every employee doing the same thing, for companies to then get ahead in the marketplace.
Right. So, what I understand is you were saying it's become a continuous learning that one needs to do, kind to excel in not only in their career but also to contribute meaningfully to the organization, and that is becoming more and more critical at a time when learning was probably considered as a support function, or HR was also considered a support function. It's coming at the forefront. Do you feel kind of that is changing very rapidly now?
Yeah, so I think learning, lifelong learning and learning, continuous learning, these are ideas that's a part of the long term trend. So that's something that, even before AI came about, over the last 10 years, we've been seeing, these big picture long term trends where employees are learning more and more on a regular basis. They are upskilling themselves constantly to
Yeah.
prepare them for, the inevitable new technologies that come about. And this whole AI thing is a great example of that put in action. But when it comes to even the way you mentioned learning moving away from support and towards business, that's a huge shift we've been seeing over 10 years. Learning used to be, clearly it used to be under HR, and used to be an HR function, and now we're seeing HR has a part of learning. So compliance, your posh, your information security, those basic things are still an HR mandate. But you're seeing learning move towards, the way we say it is learning is moving towards the point of use. So business teams are now focusing on learning. They want, specific skills, specific processes, product information, and they want full control over how that's disseminated, because things are moving very fast and they want feedback, customer best practices, whatever it might be, to be utilized, to be taught as close to it being utilized as possible. So it's become a key part of the business function. And we've seen, even internally, we've seen that change, So where we used to, 10 years back when we first entered the market, we used to pitch directly to the CHRO. Now we're pitching to business heads, we're pitching to sales heads, we're pitching to a much wider spectrum of leaders, because learning is happening at all these different places in the company.
So, essentially, you are saying that learning has become more democratized now. And I hear from you that you are coming up with a new product which is going to kind of make learning even more accessible to anybody at any point in time, right? Would you like to share something about it with our viewers today?
Yeah, absolutely. So now, when it comes to democratizing learning, in my mind, that means a few different things. One is the democratization doesn't just come from you know uh, what you're learning, but also what content is created. So we are seeing, instead of content being created at a central point, by a centralized team, we're seeing a lot of user generated content also get created. So you're seeing a lot of sort of democracy there, where each learner has a voice and they're able to share content that's consumed by other learners in the company. The democratization is also happening in the form of what to learn. So instead of a centralized learning mandate coming from the HR department or even from the business team, learners are getting, especially your not, what we call knowledge workers or your skilled workers or your white collar workers. We're seeing they get to choose what they are learning. They get to pick the skills, they get access to the entire library of content, and they get to then decide where to spend their time.
Right.
And for us, a very interesting space of where we're seeing a higher degree of democratization of learning is also what channels to use to learn. So originally, 10-15 years back, it used to be a lot of classroom based, live instructor led training. And then with COVID, we saw all of that shift online with a lot of virtual instructor-led training on Zoom calls and things like that. Over the years, we've also seen mobile-based learning and e-learning grow. But again, it was all sort of very centrally accessed. It was all centrally uploaded. What we're now seeing is employees want to ask their own questions. They want their own they want instant feedback, and they might not want long form learning. They might want quick answers to specific questions they have, so that they can get back to they can get back to work as fast as possible. We're seeing shorter attention spans. We're seeing even a 3 minute. 5 years back, 3 minutes was considered short. Now that's considered long. So they want much faster responses. So that's why we've launched a product. We call it Clip, Conversational Learning Intelligence Platform. We've launched this platform, as an answer to how can we, take it to the next level of take learning to the next level of democratization, and give learners control over what they learn, when they learn, how they learn. So now they can choose. They can access classroom trainings and virtual instructor-led trainings if they like. They can choose to complete, long-form courses where the learning is very structured. And then with Clip, they can ask questions and get instant answers if they also need. So, Clip works really well for company-specific content like your product information, processes, policies, something that's not available on the internet, something that's highly confidential, and it does not use the likes of Gemini or ChatGPT or Copilot or Perplexity or any of these commercially available AI models, because confidentiality becomes a big concern there. We've seen reports where confidential information uploaded on these tools can get leaked. It shows up on Google. There's all sorts of concerns in the mind of the in the mind of the buyer today, in the mind of the information security officer, or the CTO or the CIO. And those concerns are alleviated when they learn that Clip is completely hosted by us in-house on our servers. We're hosted on AWS in India, in Mumbai. And we have full control over what those chatbots are trained with and not trained with. So clients get a lot more sort of comfort knowing that their content stays with them. The chatbot doesn't access the internet, and what the chatbot is able to answer is completely controlled, by the business. So a great way to also take that one step closer to sort of democratizing learning by giving learners the choice of how they wish to learn.
Right. I think it's a great tool that you talked about. It's like a few decades back when the automobile industry got revolutionized with the just-in-time inventory model. I think it's something like that, just-in-time learning for people. And as you said, rightly said, people want to learn on the go, and they need just a bit of information just to crack a meeting, crack a particular deal through. I think it will help immensely in that.
Yeah. So, I think 2 points there. One is we're seeing exactly that when, a lot of the learners who log in and use Clip today, they're asking things like, okay, I want the specifications of XYZ product, but write it in the form of an email that I can send to a prospect, and Clip is able to structure that and save 90% of that learner's time. So they don't have to, write that email from scratch, but they can personalize it. They can customize it after they get that initial template from Clip. We're also seeing a lot of GenAI based content being created. So in addition to them using Clip, we're in the process of launching our GenAI engine. So we can already do this with slideshows. We can already do this with quizzes and images and graphics. And soon we'll be able to do this with videos as well, where clients can do just-in-time content creation, where today they need an information security course. They can plug that into Courseplay, and our GenAI engine can create that entire course, personalize it based on the client's organization, their logo, their branding, their values. Because again, as an LMS LXP platform, that content's already uploaded on Courseplay, so we can use that to further enhance that next generation of content that we create for them. And then it's all created instantly. It's then deployed instantly, and done in a way that saves a lot of time, saves a lot of money. But since we're on this subject, I'll also mention a concern that we've also seen, with this idea of AI slop. So with GenAI, it has to be done very delicately. We can't just go and blindly create content and use, cutting edge AI models to create unlimited content. A lot of personalization is needed. A lot of contextualization is needed. Otherwise, you go down this rabbit hole of creating generic sort of slop content that learners don't respect and value. And then it degrades trust, because then learners will not trust their employer. Absolutely. That, all the content that's coming to me is boring, generic stuff. I can Google this. Why do I need to spend 20 hours on my LMS to learn this? So, it's a double-edged sword. We need to look at um, ensuring the content is, contextualized and personalized. It's relevant. At the same time, do it with the fastest turnaround possible for our clients.
Right, right. I think you touched upon a beautiful point. How do we kind of contextualize this learning for people and make it more and more meaningful for them? Any piece of advice that you would like to give for the CEOs and CHROs and where we are moving towards?
Yeah, I think one big piece of advice is, while I understand a lot of business leaders are pushing their teams to buy the next big sort of bright and shiny tool, and we see a lot of our clients, not clients, but a lot of our prospects, ask us, okay, what AI features do you have? So I think there, we're seeing a trend where, without actually understanding what these AI tools are capable of doing today, because there's a lot of hype, and then a lot of our prospects have unrealistic expectations of what is, technically possible in the industry today. But at the same time, they don't even know what they want. So I think a word of advice would be, set a clear expectation or a clear vision that, okay, we want, the AI to do this, which we're not able to do with humans, which we're not able to do with data, but we want AI to come in and do this. um, and what is it that you wanted to do, and how it's going to benefit the business. And it's not just a checkbox that, okay, they have AI, okay, they have, they can do this, but give us a clear mandate that, oh, no, we want AI to reduce attrition, or we want AI to to streamline employee career growth, and to identify which roles an employee is best suited for, or we want AI to recommend what kind of learning an employee should take given their behaviors, given their performance, given their feedback. Or we want AI to translate content, or we want AI to answer questions. But that clarity is really important for us.
Thanks, Arjun. Thanks for your insights. I think we went really deep into the topic of how learning can really be democratized. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Saikat.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for your
Thank you.
time.